Welcome to the world's stickiest learning. I am absolutely over the moon to have Chelsea Kirk with us. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for
Hello.
having me.
How are you doing? It's Friday, weekend soon.
Absolutely. Super excited.
Good, 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 good. Now, we wanted to ask you to come to our podcast because you're an expert on EDI. Is that right?
That is.
Okay. So, Chelsea, would you tell us what you do? And in the nicest possible way, why should we listen to you when you talk about EDI?
Yeah, of course. So my current position is Head of Equality, Diversity, Inclusion at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Kings Lynn. Been in that post for around 2.5 years and done EDI for probably near enough 4 years
Wow. Okay.
and kind of a generalist for about 8 years in HR prior to EDI. I suppose in terms of listening to me, I've got kind of a lot of experience in sort of that HR field, in the EDI sort of field and landscape, and quite well connected with different sort of professions and different EDI leaders. And I think as well, sort of keeping yourself current is really important that, as the landscape evolves constantly, it is around how do you kind of keep yourself current. So, well connected, networking with different individuals, it is really important as well. So I would
Okay.
say in a roundabout way that to sort of summarize.
All right, cool, cool, cool. So EDI is something that's relatively new to most people, although it's becoming, dare I say, on trend. It's becoming more
Yes.
topical, which is a good thing. So if I'm new to EDI, would you just summarize for us what is this thing and why should we start understanding it better?
Yeah, I think EDI is really important. One, I think creating that sense of belonging in the workplace, having that safe space to be their true, authentic selves, and bringing their whole selves to, the workplace. And I think that for me is really, really important. And I
Right.
think as EDI has really sort of grown over the last sort of few years, I think there's a few topics that have really elevated that. So I think, the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter have really sort of pushed the dial, and organizations are sort of, waking up to some of that.
Yeah.
And, EDI is becoming quite a top priority in organizations, and now becoming that golden thread through it all, really.
Yeah. And what about organizations that are still sort of, oh, we're too busy, we've got too much on, we're just not going to think about this now? Does it matter? Why should they really start thinking about it and caring
Yeah,
about this
I
stuff?
think it is really, really important. I think because, similar to what I've said, it's about how do we ensure that our workplace is safe for people to be their true authentic
Yeah.
selves, but also what is creating organizations EVP? What is making me want to join your organization? So, if I look to apply, what is enticing me? What do the values bring? What do the culture bring? So I think it's really important that organisations have an EDI function to really drive home that, within our organisation, within the NHS, we have a really diverse workforce. So over 70 different nationalities in our
Wow.
workforce alone. 27% of our workforce are Black and Asian minority ethnic background people. So it's really important that actually organisations have an EDI function within their sort of setup.
Okay. Okay. And just so you can bring it to life for us, what do you do day to day? Because I get it, but I'm thinking, what does Chelsea do?
Yeah,
Do you go and
yeah.
talk to, what do you do?
Absolutely. It is really about networking, engaging, and talking to people. So, a large proportion of my role is leading the staff networks.
Okay.
So, we have REACH, which is race, ethnicity, and cultural heritage, disability, LGBTQ plus, and spirituality. So again, it is about leading the program of work that's happening in those networks, supporting the chairs and co-chairs with delivering some of that piece of work as well. And I think importantly is around what is it that we're doing. So monitoring that progress and tracking that, but also celebrating the diverse cultures that we have in our organisation. So working with them to go, Pride's coming up. What are we going to do as an organisation to support that event? Black History Month, what are we doing to support that? So a lot of my sort of work underpinned by kind of our staff network and driving that. There's a few sort of mandatory elements that we have to
Yep.
do. So when we look at our RES and DES, which is the Workforce Race Equality Standard and the Workforce Disability Equality Standard,
Okay.
that is something nationally we have to sort of annually submit data and track and
Yep.
monitor our progress. Um, So there's a few things that kind of legislation, Equality Act, that we have to sort of, guide ourselves with, but there'll be the other stuff that is the kind of staff networks, engaging with colleagues around these are things that we are doing in the organisation to make it more inclusive. What more can we do? Building those relationships and connections, because communication is so important to kind of really cascade and share what we're doing as an organisation and how that's making, improvements for our staff.
Okay. Res and Des. I've never heard of those acronyms.
Yes.
I get it. Okay. Yeah.
We love
So
an acronym, don't we?
they're probably quite normal, aren't they? You're like Res and Des every day. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was brand new to me. Okay. And what's something you've been proud of over the last couple of years in this changing of EDI, making people feel more included? What have you done where you go, that was brilliant?
Oh God, there's quite a couple, I would say, but we did a reverse mentoring program, and we partnered with an external organisation called Remedy Project. So reverse mentoring for EDI, and it was led by Stacey Johnson, who sort of is the leader of the organisation, and she's supportive with that program. And I think we had some really powerful moments and conversations and feedback about their experience. So we had senior leaders that were being mentored by junior staff with a lived experience, and really kind of how do they share that? How do they know that? And how are they more aware themselves as a leader? So really putting themselves in their shoes and walking alongside them in some of those lived experience elements. And that really did spark some really good conversations. Some were difficult at times for some of them that were in those pairs together, but some were really good, and we got some really positive feedback. I think we developed the EDI calendar, which again is really important for me. Education is so important for us to learn and change as people, but also as leaders and managers as well. So that EDI calendar also guides us around, what events are really important to our staff, and how we're going to celebrate that as an organisation, as a network, as a community, but also what is Black History. If I didn't know what Black History Month meant and what the history is, I can go onto that platform. It's interactive, and you can find out more about that event, or that day or that month in particular. So it helps, one, that person, but also two, helps potentially their team, because they're more aware of, if they do have someone in their team of a diverse background, then they could be more aware of different culture dates that they'd be celebrating, checking in, asking those important questions. So I think there are a couple of sort of proud moments, really.
Lovely. And is it Diwali at the moment? Diwali.
Yeah, Diwali. Yeah.
Diwali.
So we had an event this week, actually, one evening this week. So again, love culture, bringing it to life, and having our staff there celebrating with them. So yeah, happens over 5 days.
Lovely. I only know because there's a lot of lights on houses around here, which are early for Christmas. I say, because it's the Festival of Light, isn't it?
Light. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Getting it. All right. Cool. You and I started communicating, connecting over LinkedIn. Lovely.
Yes.
And we do these coaching card thingies, which I'm going to grab. This is not the one we're doing. This is customer service, which we did with Andrew Stotter Brooks. And we do these coaching cards, and you and I started talking about, what about doing some EDI coaching cards? Yes. And you were very kind, and you created this content. You've got a box there, haven't you?
I do, yep. So this is
okay, cool.
This is our box here.
Yep. All right. So we created these EDI cards together, but you drove all the content. Coaching cards, why did you want to create these?
Yeah, again, I think it goes back to that point around education. So I think EDI topics sometimes are difficult to navigate and difficult for people to want to sort of face into, if I'm really honest, because the fear of unknown and the fear of potential upsetting people by saying the wrong things. So I think these coaching cards are a great example of how you can learn more, but in a safe environment. Okay. So I think that for me is a key fundamental of why I wanted to sort of, work with you on this.
Okay. I'm slightly distracted only because I'm making sure that we're still recording. And we are. That's right. For
Yeah.
a moment, I thought we weren't recording. Darren's forgotten to press the button, so that's why I was slightly distracted. My apologies. So, if you take those EDI cards out, there are a whole bunch of cards.
Yes.
You separated them into sections. Would you
Yep.
just bring that to life for us?
Yeah, so 4 different sections. So equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
Okay, EDIB. Okay, yep,
Yes.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So 20 cards under each heading, which include a variety of different sort of topics and themes.
All right. And would you give us an idea of how someone might use these cards to help them improve their understanding of EDI?
I think they can be used in sort of many different ways, really. A one-on-one, so again with your sort of line manager or peer, I think they can be used as a team. So again, a team sort of meeting potentially, or can be used as a sort of a learning session. So rather than maybe a sort of bog standard sort of learning session, let's get a bit creative. Let's sort of work in
Yeah.
groups, get some cards out, flip them over, have an open, honest conversation in a safe environment. So I think they can be used in a sort of a multiple different sort of platforms and ways, which again is why I love the cards, because it's not just a one sort of process that you follow. They can be used at any stages, any conversations, or any sort of team events.
All right, fabulous. And would you just, I'm going to put you under a little bit of pressure now. I'm going to ask you to
Okay.
grab a card out
Yeah.
of the box,
Yeah.
show it, and this question, let's have a look at what pops up. What's the question that's on there?
So this
Okay.
is,
Yep, cool. We got that. Equality and equity. So there's some sort of image going
yes.
on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it says, explain what this image means to you. And I think, again, sort of quite a popular image that, people would maybe see within training, see within sort of different platforms. And I think for me, this is around, I think organisations are good at equality. So we've given everybody the exact same to be able to sort of get on, be able to sort of work within that sort of workspace or workplace. But when you look at equity, it is about sometimes we need to do a little bit more for different people depending on their
Okay. Yep.
circumstances. So if you can see the first image here, which is around equality, they've all got the same. They've all got
Yep.
the same size box. However, they actually can't see over the fence. But if you look at equity, actually, we might need to make some reasonable adjustments or some tweaks to be able to make sure that everyone can see over that fence.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. And I'm loving that. Would you do a couple more cards for us?
Of
Because when you
course.
bring it to
Yeah.
life for us, like, okay, we're getting this, we're seeing how these might work. Love it. And you're saying it
Yes.
might work in a team environment or a couple of people together, or even by yourself. You might pull out a card and ask yourself this question or see
Absolutely.
this image.
Yeah. So again, I think really, really important to use it in different ways, whatever people feel comfortable with, even just buying it and using it yourself. And if you're not quite sure on, oh God, what does that question mean? Or I'm not sure on that, or actually I'm really comfortable, great. But actually, how do you delve a little bit deeper? And if you're not where, it then I think really triggers that point around, I need to learn a little bit more. What am I going to do
Yeah.
to know more about EDI, or if it is a specific topic in particular? Again, that accountability from the self to say, I need to learn more. I'm going to go and find out what this means, or I'm going to go and speak to people.
Nice, nice. All right. And what would be another question on another
Okay, so
card?
I've gone to diversity this time. So how do
Okay.
you celebrate diversity and respect everyone's experience?
Okay, so just
Okay.
show us the card if you would, just so,
Yes.
yep, we can see that
So
as a question.
diversity.
Okay, how do you celebrate diversity and respect everyone's experience? All right, so if that's pulled out in a team environment, what do you expect people to say to that?
Yes. So I would say a couple of things is, how we celebrate diversity is around bringing themselves to work. So we do that in a different number of different ways. So I think for me is around engaging with staff. So what we do is around getting the voices in the room and them having a platform. So we did a campaign in the organization, and our colleagues actually spearheaded that campaign. So it wasn't
Nice.
just external faces or
Yeah,
people you may have seen. It is around when you walk past some of that content, be it posters or social media, you recognize I work with that person, or
yep.
they're my colleague, or I've seen that person. So it's about actually really having the engagement from our colleagues within everything that we do. And I've talked a bit about how we celebrate Diwali. So we did that this week. We did Black History Month in October of last month. We've got, we've celebrated Pride. We've got Disability History Month coming up, really soon. So those are the things that we do to kind of celebrate diversity. And it goes back to that point of everyone's got a story. So let's hear our staff stories. You don't necessarily know everything about those individuals. So it's really important that, again, how we bring our culture to life is through our people. So, and it's really about, oh, wow, I didn't know that about that individual, or I'm going to go and find out more about what that means. And respecting everyone's experience. So, we have, a large organization with different cultures, different backgrounds, different sexual orientation, different disabilities. So it's about understanding people as individuals and getting to know them around, what makes them tick, what things can I do as a manager that I need to make adjustments for potentially. And communication is so important. And it goes back to that point I made earlier around the fear of facing into some of those stuff or asking those questions because you don't want to upset. But it is about sometimes you have to face into that to, one, support the colleague and know more about, how you can support the team at work. And that, again, long term, boosts colleague morale, culture. So again, really important.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more card. I've got a couple more questions for you.
Right, let's go to belonging then.
Okay. All right, what's the question?
Okay. Let's have a look. So I think this one. Belonging.
Okay. All right, what are gender pronouns and why do they matter? So these are the he, she stuff that we see at the bottom of emails type thing?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So I think, and this, again, really important. So for us to create that sense of belonging and for them, our staff, to be able to bring their whole selves, really important that, just the smallest point around what you said around having their pronouns on the bottom of an email, it senses that inclusion element. I'm safe, I can talk to you, or you recognize the importance of pronouns. So we've been able to put them on our yellow hello my name badges. So I don't know if you've seen them in the organization. So we've been able to add pronouns onto those name badges. We have added them onto email signatures. Really important that that smallest element around how we address people, be it she, he, they, and also the neo pronouns, is really important. So I think small step is just so important for our staff to make them inclusive, be it as a staff or patient. We kind of, again, see many different patients, over 330,000 patients across the year. So really important that, if we're kind of using the right pronouns, how inclusive does that, our service, but also our workplace, demonstrate across the piece.
And you and I have talked about neo pronouns before, and I'm not sure I've kept the knowledge. Just tell me, neo pronouns, what are they? They're new to me, I think.
Yeah, so they are more so kind of fairly new, but we kind of see the kind of pronouns around gender, kind of the she, they, their, and him. But the neo pronouns are sort of more around the MX you may see. Yeah, so you may have seen them. Not, I wouldn't say they're as kind of as common as the gender pronouns, but absolutely really important to be aware of.
Okay, understood. So you've created this content, it's fabulous. Thank you. We've got these coaching cards. We're trying to help people to improve their understanding of EDI, and these coaching cards should help. All right. One last question. I think I've got one last question. Okay. If I'm an organization and I'm trying to get into understanding this EDI stuff, but I'm not there yet, top tips for how do we grab this stuff? What do we do to start the snowball rolling, as we call it?
I think, one, look at your organization culture at the moment. So is there any data that tells you how staff are feeling? So for me, staff survey, a lot of organizations tend to do them. So what is that telling you in that staff survey? And I think a key one for me that would just really elevate that is bringing in staff networks. So they are those safe environments from staff from those communities, but also allies, which are really important to be able to drive agenda. For really driving that change and that culture change. It's really important that we have allies to support. So bringing in staff networks really creates that platform around this space is for you. So if you think about our race and ethnicity network, so reach race, ethnicity and cultural heritage, we talk about some really important things in there, but also it gives them a platform to have their voice heard around the things that they want to see the organization do, how we can support them, what events are really important that they want to celebrate, but also get their engagement and their viewpoint. So we introduced diverse interview panels a couple of years ago, and we were able to look at the data pre the implementation and post, and there were some really positive improvements on people applying the succession rate and appointment. So we're now saying that's really successful. We need more people that are able to support with those interview panels. To be able to again create that platform where we're working with our staff. It's not just a very senior leader or senior leaders making those decisions. It's around we are consulting with our people within our organization, and our networks are really key for that. They support us in looking at policies, so how inclusive our language is, how they are in terms of language that we're using. So again, I think it's really important. So that would be a first point for me. One, understanding your culture. What is it saying? Where's the data for that? But then two, creating platforms where staff have got an avenue where they can speak up and it's safe and they have that sense of belonging.
Wow. Brilliant. Chelsea, anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked because I've omitted it that you think would be good for people to know about EDI? Doesn't have to be, just thought I'd give you that final bit.
I think EDI evolves constantly, and I think it's really important to keep yourself abreast with that. So again, look at yourself around what are you doing to keep yourself current and understand the different landscape within EDI. And I think connect, talk to colleagues, talk to your team in your organization. What do they think around EDI? And if they were, looking at wanting to do something, what would the team and the staff want? It's got to be led by the staff. Then you'll get your engagement.
Of course. We've seen many initiatives over the years, haven't we? Different companies where it's all top down and the staff like, something else I've got to do for the MD. I'd rather not. You're right. Absolutely. It needs to be led by people.
And it's got to be supported by, again, senior leaders, execs and boards, because again, it's got to be driven across the piece. There's only so much that staff networks and senior leaders can do, but ultimately it needs to come from the top down and the bottom up. And again, how we come together on that.
Chelsea, thank you very much. You've been listening to Chelsea Kirk. She's been telling us about EDI and the coaching cards that you've created. Thank you for doing that. My name's Darren Smith. I hope to see you on our next podcast, World's Stickiest Learning. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.